On October 31st, 2015, the Tanforan Assembly Center Memorial Committee hosted a reception at the San Bruno BART station to unveil the conceptual design and model rendition of the proposed Memorial Plaza. Many people attended, including some who were incarcerated at the Tanforan Assembly Center. Also attending were their family members, the general public, and dignitaries who support building the Memorial Plaza.
My name is Doug Yamamoto. I'm the chairman of the Tanforan Assembly Center Memorial Committee, and we're trying to build a memorial right out there with the help of BART and a whole host of other people. So I hope you've had a chance to look at the proposed model which is out there that RHA has designed, and my job is just to get you settled down and introduce our Mistress of Ceremonies, Wendy Hanamura.
I wonder how many of you realize that you sit today on sacred ground. Sacred ground, because 73 years ago, this was a place where 8,000 of your neighbors, your friends, your parents, some of you today, were incarcerated in a site of mass incarceration. I wonder how many people who stream into the BART station every morning and come out every night, I wonder how many of them realize what happened here 73 years ago. But it was a time of war and prejudice, hysteria, and our government did some pretty crazy things. They went into the orphanages and took out any child who was as little as a quarter Japanese. They went into the insane asylums and they pulled out the men and women who were mentally ill and brought them to this place. They put 8,000 Japanese American citizens behind barbed wire. But other things happened here on this ground too. Children played. Teenagers courted. They held high school classes in the stands. Jay Sasagawa tells me that he was supposed to be in high school, but since no one was really keeping track, he just played football every day. He's 90 now, and when he came back out of the camps, his mother said, "Did you graduate from high school?" And he said, "No, not yet." So she made him go back. Took him 6 years to graduate, but he finally got a degree from Pali High, 1946. Chiyoko Fukumoto was a young wife. She's here today. She's 101 years old.
To help kick off a very exciting project whose purpose is to recognize and commemorate a significant piece of our nation's history. Under the requirements of Executive Order 9066, issued by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942, over 8,000 persons of Japanese ancestry were removed from their homes around the Bay Area and detained right here at the Tanforan Assembly Center between April and October 1942. That Assembly Center was located in the exact spot where we are today. The City of San Bruno applauds the Tanforan Assembly Center Memorial Committee for their work to establish a memorial here that will serve as both a reminder and an opportunity to educate ourselves and future generations. We are pleased to support this effort, and we look forward to its development and installation.
Most especially, I extend a warm welcome to those former internees and family members who have connections with this historic site. Beginning in 2012, the Tanforan Assembly Center Memorial Committee approached BART with an idea for a temporary photographic gallery marking the anniversary closure of the Assembly Center. BART is proud to feature the photographic gallery of Dorothea Lange and Paul Kitagaki inside our San Bruno station, and I hope you all do get a chance to look at it today.
We are here today to announce that we are creating a monument, but it's not just any monument. It's going to be a compelling monument that is going to provide us with a reflection of what our country did some 73 years ago. It will recognize the time when our nation committed a grave injustice against American citizens of Japanese descent. It will remind us all to be humble in times of fear, to be calm, to be thoughtful, to be true to our principles that are enshrined in the Constitution of the United States. Most of all, this monument will be a testament to the indomitable spirit of Americans of Japanese descent. As we all know, 120,000 Japanese Americans were removed from their homes, stripped of their property, and sent to concentration camps. Now, we don't like using that word because it brings back memories of the Holocaust, but they weren't just internment camps. They were prisons. Ladies and gentlemen, a monument to those injustices and to the courage of the human beings that endured in those years needs to be built. Japanese Americans lived in large numbers in the Bay Area until the beginning of the war. They were the friends of our families, the teachers of our children, the store owners and employers of our community. And yet, in those days of a failure of political leadership, they were denied their rights, and in so doing, their treatment created a stain on America. We must remind future generations not to commit the wrongs of the past, no matter what failure of leadership may exist in that future time. And I want you to help us kick off this effort to make sure that this monument is there for all future generations so that we never repeat the mistakes of the past.
You know, this is a day of remembrance, and it's a day of resolve. We've talked about some of the issues, and certainly the 7,816 men and women and children of Japanese ancestry who were here, that they were assembled here, and the 891 from San Mateo County. 891 of our local neighbors, friends, and family members, regardless of their citizenship and despite their contributions to their communities, were forced to give up their homes. Just think of that. Forced to give up your home, forced to give up your occupation. And those people who were professionals, had successful businesses, they lost them. And they got pennies on the dollar for them. We stand with you today to underscore our resolve to prevent such a thing from happening again. And we applaud and support the efforts of the internees, their children and their grandchildren, to help us educate our community so that we do not forget what transpired here. But we all know what happened here 73 years ago, because if we didn't know, we wouldn't be here today. That's not what I find to be the problem. It's those who don't know. That's the problem. Just as I didn't know when those who lived through this injustice are gone. Who will remember? Who or what will be the conscience for tomorrow? And now we know. Now we know that that sculpture will be that reminder. That will be our conscience for the future. Your work and the plans launched today by the Tanforan Assembly Center Memorial Committee ensure that our memories of that time, 7 decades ago, and the narratives of the Japanese Americans who were interned are not lost or forgotten.
According to our records, there are around 40,000 Japanese nationals who currently reside in this area. Many of them come to this Tanforan Mall to shop without knowing this place was once designed to relocate Japanese people in desolate, isolated area around the country. Now, we Japanese are able to live here very comfortably, thanks in no small part to the hardships endured by Japanese Americans during that time. this memorial is very significant because it will remind us to reflect on these hardships, but it will also remind us of the benefits that Japanese Americans have contributed to our society.
I published Gambate, Legacy of an Enduring Spirit, a story on the Japanese incarceration. I had been working on this story for project for 7 years, pairing contemporary photographs of the subjects from the historical images taken in 1942, mainly from Dorothea Lange, some from Ansel Adams, Clem Elber, who later became a San Francisco Chronicle photographer, and there were some Japanese internees who actually shot some photos for the War Relocation Authority. So when I published that story in 2012, Richard Oba called me and he said, would you be interested to share this project during a 1-month exhibition at the site of the Tanforan Assembly Center for a BART-sponsored Asian Pacific American Heritage Month celebration? So I thought, wow, that'd be awesome. So we collaborated and we were able to do this really fantastic exhibition here. And we thought, oh, it's just going to be a month and that was it. Well, I guess it really struck a chord with so many people in the Bay Area, and it's still here. And thanks to BART for keeping it here. And I think it's being able to educate a lot of people on what really happened here, 73 years ago. I really want to know how Executive Order forever changed the life of these internees who unjustly lost their homes, businesses, and sometimes their families. And they were more than just these tags with a number. I mean, they were a person. The story of nearly 40 internees. Since this exhibit went up, more people have seen it, and some people have contacted me because they've seen other photos and said, they knew somebody was. So again, I call somebody up and ask them to be involved. And I'm still looking for more people, so I need all your help to find more people. So I hope whoever sees this would be inspired by their stories and images and the subject's perseverance in overcoming the many hardships of incarceration.
This poem is titled Japanese American 1942-1946. The City Council of Sacramento commissioned the artist Yoshio Taylor and myself to create a monument about the incarceration. And Yoshio created a mural, and on the mural he painted my poem. Removed to prison by executive order, confined within barbed wire fence, watchtowers manned by guards with rifles and machine guns, searchlights after dark, homes, farms, businesses, jobs, a lifetime in America faded like a dream. Their rights as citizens denied, their loyalty questioned. Still they endured, planting seeds in desert soil. Their faith in America steadfast and strong. Many took up arms to defend their country, serving with distinction. They were decorated for bravery, buffeted by wind and sand. They made flowers bloom in desert soil between rows of bleak, tar-papered barracks. Released from prison at last, hope and strength gained from a new meaning of freedom. They worked to rebuild their lives, became productive citizens again, securing their rightful place in America. But the memory of prison life and the pain from that experience make them fierce guardians of justice, protectors of the constitutional rights. No one in this country, no one group of people should ever suffer the same injustice. Never again should it happen.
On May 10th, 1942, I was just 6 weeks old. My mom and dad and my almost 3-year-old sister Barbara, we were uprooted from our home in San Francisco. We walked 7 blocks down Bush Street to Octavia and to the San Francisco Buddhist Church. There, we got on buses to take us somewhere. No one knew anything. No one told us anything. When we arrived several hours later, we got out of the buses and here we were at Tanforan Racetrack. Now, between February and May, the U.S. Army hastily built facilities like these at Tanforan, euphemistically called assembly centers. They were built, as someone described them, as a way station for humanity. They were built to hold people of Japanese ancestry until more permanent concentration camps could be built in the worst locations in America. And when we got here, there really wasn't enough housing that they built in the infield. So many of us had to live in mucked out, whitewashed horse stalls. And I remember when I got older and I was unable to understand what went on here at Tanforan, my mom said the only thing she remembers about Tanforan was the smell of the horse manure. I see a lot of you say, yeah, you do remember that. But this was a smell she remembered for the rest of her life. Now today we've seen a conceptual model of a beautiful memorial designed to commemorate the almost 8,000 people of Japanese ancestry who lived without dignity, whose human rights were violated, whose civil rights were trampled, and whose constitutional rights were ignored. These violations were finally acknowledged by a commission of Congress. Commission answers where it was a result of war hysteria, racism, and a lack of political leadership. We can go off on that tangent, but we have only a few minutes left. So I'm asking all of you to please support the creation of this memorial. Now, you may choose to donate it because you were incarcerated here, or you want to remember your mom and dad, or Oba-chan and Oji-chan. Or you have a friend or a colleague who is imprisoned here. But what I want all of you to consider when you're ready to write the check, that this memorial not only represents 8,000 individuals who were falsely imprisoned, but also to serve as a reminder to all of America, excuse me, that this cannot and shall not happen again. Thank you.